FBI raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago residency, where he was reportedly keeping classified documents. Well, now, Trump is filing a suit against the government in order to block officials from finding out what is inside those files. The 8th of August search was undertaken to look for official records and materials from Trump's presidency that the National Archives and Department of Justice say were improperly taken from the White House when he left office. It is understood some of the documents seized were marked to contain the highest levels of sensitivity. It's breathtaking stuff. So what on earth is going on? Well, let's talk now to Sebastian Gorka, former deputy assistant to President Trump. I mean, is this story what it says on the tin? Is it that the president, for reasons known to Donald Trump, had classified documents and the US government said, we need those back?
Yeah, no, you open the tin and you're going to find some moldy old rotten biscuits inside. The fact is, this was an illegal raid. I'm calling it a state-sanctioned burglary. It is clear in U.S. national security, every president, when they leave the office, maintains the highest level of clearance until they die. Jimmy Carter, who's still alive, by the way, maintains top secret SCIQ clearance, which includes nuclear codes or nuclear weapons related classified documents. So the idea that he's misusing them, one, is utterly fallacious. Number two, you have to have a reason of a crime being committed or imminently about to be committed to get a search warrant. What crime was committed if the president has all the clearances? Lastly, an amazing story cropped up again from 2012, just last week. There was a similar tussle between former President Bill Clinton and the U.S. government over some records he took to his private residence after he left the White House. Back in 2012, the then judge, the federal judge, and this has not been appealed, stated the following. The decision to segregate personal materials from presidential records is made by the president by his sole discretion. So a president decides what is his and what goes to the government, and the president, in this case, his rights, his Fourth Amendment rights to undue search and seizure have been arrogated. And as such, he has a very strong case against the politicization of the FBI.
I mean, it does beg the question, why does Donald Trump want to hold on to whichever documents he's chosen to hold on to? And other countries, allied nations of America, particularly thinking about the UK, of course, with our special relationship, should we be concerned that there might be highly classified documents in the private residence of an ex-president?
Well, look, we will find out. The president has demonstrated full transparency. He wants the affidavit of the search warrant that says why they broke into a president's home the first time in American history with agents bearing guns. He wants it released. And for some reason, we are 14 days after the burglary, and the Biden administration doesn't want to tell the American people why they did this. As to the documents concerned, there is one clear batch of documents that this government wants to maintain as secret documents, and those are the Russia collusion hoax documents. President Trump, before he left office, gave a standing order to declassify, as is his right, anything to do with the false Russia collusion hoax against him. Those documents are likely included in the ones he took with him to Mar-a-Lago. They are declassified. And there is a high probability that now this administration that was up to its armpits in that hoax, you remember the Steele dossier and everything else, wants to hide these documents before the next election because Biden's approval ratings are in the rubbish can. He's like 27%. President Trump is going to run against him and be trounced. So this could be just the biggest cover-up in American history. And the president says, okay, show us all the documents. Why does the Department of Justice want to hide them? That's the real question, Alex.
I want to pick up on this term declassified, because it's been a bit of a bone of contention in some of the interviews I've listened to about what quite is going on, with ex-intelligence advisor John Bolton saying that he had never heard of such a term, declassified documents. I mean, if these things are declassified, why aren't they in the public domain? Or is there a bit of an untruth being told about that?
Well, I don't know what Bolton is doing. Bolton's kind of lost the plot since he left the administration, trying to ingratiate himself with the lying legacy media. The U.S. Constitution and the National Security Records Act are all very clear. The President of the United States has exclusive authority to declassify any document. He can strip somebody of their clearances. He can give anybody a clearance should he so wish to. And also, he has the sole discretion to declassify any document. That has been upheld by the Supreme Court as recently as just a few years ago. When it comes to these documents, it's the nature of the documents and the fact that President Trump wanted them released before he left office to prove to the world that there was no Russia collusion. It was all a hoax from Christopher Steele and Hillary Clinton. And then the national archivists and members of the swamp, as we call them here, the pure permanent bureaucracy, said, oh, let us take them away and just check if they're okay for you to declassify. Hang on, who's in control? The man elected by 64 million Americans or some faceless bureaucrat in the bowels of some agency? That's the real problem. We have unaccountable individuals who say, I am going to decide what the president is allowed to declassify. No, that's not how it works. The president has the sole exclusive capacity to do that. And somebody wants to hide something, and it's probably to do with Biden's buddies.
It's really fascinating stuff. I'm hooked following this story as it unfolds. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for coming on to my programme again to talk to us about this. Really great to hear from you. Sebastian Gorka there, who is the former ex-deputy assistant to Donald Trump. I mean, Charlie... America just constantly looks like a basket case, doesn't it? And on one side, you definitely have this sort of volatile, very different president to the likes of which the world hadn't seen before, who is often criticised by many. And now people currently in government who won't let sleeping dogs lie, who seem to be constantly using every trick in the book to demean him, to demonise him, to potentially try and stymie his next run at the presidency. And in the wake of all this, most of the world are looking at America going, what is going on?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's probably quite easy to stymie Donald Trump's attempt to run for presidency again if he is taking classified documents away from their protected areas. Now, your guest there, Sebastian Gorka, he is a veteran of the British Army's Intelligence Corps. He should know full well that when he talks about clearance does not necessarily mean access. Just because you have a certain security clearance doesn't mean you get to look at everything at that level. It also means that documents that have a protective marking, a security marking, or various classifications, they also have places where they have to be. If you take it away, it has to go back. You can't just take secret documents home. There are so many stories which you'll see in the British press all the time about Ministry of Defence civil servants leaving behind secret papers on the train or leaving behind secret papers on the bus. They're not allowed to take top secret things home because they might lose them. So the same is true for the President of the United States. Under their own security regulations, if something is top secret, it stays where it's meant to stay. You can't take it home so you can read about the documents you're interested in over a cup of coffee in the relaxing scenarios of your own kind of pleasant abode. You have to stick by the rules.
So briefly, very briefly, Charlie, you don't think that this is in any sense some sort of stitch-up?
Well, the trouble is it's difficult to know. Because, of course, there has been so many politically motivated attacks on the president. I think, your guest, Gorka, spoke about the Russia hoax situation there. I think he's cut and dry and correct on that. But at the same time, protective markings exist for a reason.
Yeah, honestly, you can make a soap opera out of the lot of it. Charlie, thank you ever so much.